The Flash in Wrath of the Weather Wizard. Chapter 3, A Cloud of Suspicion. The Flash bolted out of Central City. He followed the path of destruction the tornado had taken. The storm had left behind a trail of shattered houses, twisted trees, and overturned cars. This certainly looks like the work of the Weather Wizard, Flash thought. However, the Scarlet Speedster needed stronger evidence to send the supervillain back to Iron Heights. 20 miles outside of the city, the tornado trail stopped in a small field. Screech! Flash quickly skidded to a stop as well. Lying at his feet were his first clues in the case. "Would you look at that?" the Flash said to himself. The superhero kneeled on the ground. A 50-foot swath of corn stalks had been flattened by the storm. The stalks fanned out in a circular pattern, swirling from the center point like a whorl. "Just like a fingerprint," the Scarlet Speedster exclaimed. Although the winds had disappeared, Flash quickly remembered that all storms leave a distinct signature. The direction of downed trees, the damage left behind, even the length of a tornado's path were clues of a storm's origin. Whoosh! Without a second thought, Flash raced back towards Central City. This time, however, he clocked himself and kept track of his speed. When the superhero arrived downtown, the crowd was gone. The crumpled newspaper the angry man had shown him remained on the ground. The Flash picked it up and read the headline again. "Weather Wizard to be released." Then he quickly scanned the remainder of the article. At 5:10 p.m., convicted felon Mark Martin will be released from Iron Heights Penitentiary, the report began. After months of appeals, a judge overturned the case due to lack of evidence. Martin will remain at the Central City halfway house until further notice. "Exactly as I thought," said the Flash. He threw the newspaper into a recycling bin and looked at his watch. A time of 5:24 p.m. glowed on the digital display. Faster than a supercomputer, the Flash calculated the numbers in his mind. "The tornado traveled 20 miles at 60 miles per hour, said the superhero. At that speed and distance, the storm would have started at exactly 5:04 p.m., 6 minutes before Mark Martin got out of prison. Zoom! The Flash sped off. For the first time ever, the Weather Wizard needed his help. Moments later, the Scarlet Speedster arrived at the Central City halfway house. The high-rise building was home to many former criminals, each trying to readjust to life outside prison. The public, however, wasn't about to give the Weather Wizard a second chance. A large mob had already surrounded the building. They pounded on the doors and continued to chant, "Stop the Weather Wizard! Stop the Weather Wizard!" the crowd shouted. The Flash knew he couldn't convince the mob that Martin was innocent. He needed to speak with the Weather Wizard himself. The superhero zigzagged through the crowd at supersonic speed. To the average man, woman, and child, he was nothing more than a brief burst of wind. Reaching the front door, the Flash vibrated his molecules with unmatched quickness. As his molecules separated, he passed through the door like a phantom. Vroom! Once inside, the Flash rushed up several flights of stairs. He quickly passed in and out of apartments, searching for the Weather Wizard. Finally, he found him. "I've been expecting you," the villain said. Standing at his apartment window, he removed the tiny microchip from inside the titanium locket. He screwed the device into his weather wand, which had been hidden in a secret location. "You didn't do it," said the Flash. "Tell that to them," the Weather Wizard replied, looking down at the angry mob. "I will," said the superhero. "Just give me time." "Time!" shouted the Weather Wizard. The villain spun around and faced Flash. He gripped the weather wand in his hand. "I've done my time," said the Weather Wizard. "I'm never going back." The villain leaped out of the window. "No!" the Flash exclaimed. The superhero rushed to the window. He looked down, but saw no sign of the weather wizard. Clank, clank, clank. Then he heard footsteps coming from above. The scarlet speedster turned his gaze upward and saw the villain climbing the metal fire escape. Zoom! The Flash chased him onto the rooftop. "What are you doing?" shouted the superhero. He watched the weather wizard grab onto the apartment's lightning rod. This tall metal spire protected the building from lightning strikes. Flash knew protecting Central City was the last thing on the supervillain's mind. "It will never stop," replied the weather wizard. "Even if I wanted to change, the weather won't let me." "But I have evidence," Flash began. "And what about the hurricanes this summer, or the snowstorms this winter?" asked the villain, raising his weather wand into the air. "Will you have evidence for those as well?" "If that's what it takes," Flash replied. A single raindrop fell from the sky. It landed on the weather wizard and trickled down his face like a tear. "I don't think so," said the villain. He pointed his weather wand at the lightning rod and fired. Kaboom! The spire erupted with electric energy and shot into the sky. A white light jumped from cloud to cloud, crackling in every direction. The weather wizard stared up at the sky. Then he looked back at Flash and smiled. "I will always and forever be a force of nature," declared the supervillain.